So this video is very late because at the end of December I had my friend come stay for 2 weeks and she just left I think 2 days ago, and I don't really get to see her, so I didn't read as many books. I only completed 4 books this month and I got halfway through a 5th. Hopefully January I'll read a little bit more. Anyway, the first book I read this month, it's in the running for my favorite book of all time. That's how good it was. And it is The Lies of Locke, Lamora by Scott Lynch. And it says that this is science fiction, but it has magic in it, so I consider it kind of fantasy, but it's so good. And it takes kind of a lot to surprise me now after I've read so many books, and I was generally surprised all the time in this book. There were so many things where I was like, oh my gosh, I know what's going to happen, and I was completely wrong, or I was like, I really just generally don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know how they're going to get out of this. And basically this follows a boy named Locke Lamora from when he's a kid until when he's an adult, and it's also about, and like his journey basically through like the underground crime. So there's a Kappa who's like the head of like all these different gangs, and then there's Guristas, which are the head of the different gangs, but they all report to the Kappa. And it's kind of his adventures. It's really awesome. There's like, it'll say interlude, and there will be like a couple chapters, sometimes one chapter, but usually a couple, where it flashes back to when he's a kid, and then it'll like flash forward. But it's like so much more than that. It's so amazing, and I would really recommend this to anybody. It's fantastic. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. So the second book I read this month was one that is long overdue, and that is Dark Triumph from the His Fair Assassin trilogy by Robin Lefevers. I'm probably totally butchering that. I really love the His Fair Assassin trilogy, and excuse that it doesn't have a dust cover. I left it in my dorm at school because I don't like to read with them on because I don't want them to get ruined. But yeah, so it's so awesome, and I really love this book. So if you don't know, the His Fair Assassin trilogy is basically like a medieval kind of thing, but it's like medieval fantasy, I guess. And he basically took like a story and like split it into 3 parts, and each part is told by a different character. The first one was told by Ismay, and that was Grave Mercy, and this is the second one, and it's told by Sabella, who's really beautiful, and she kind of has to overcome her family and lots of other things, and the girls in this book are like the daughters of death, and so they have like powers, but like I'm not going to get too much into plot because this is the second book, and it is a series. You do have to read them in order. You're going to be really confused. So I can't wait to pick up the final book. 5 out of 5 stars. Third book I read is another reread. I mean, those other 2 weren't rereads, but I love rereading books, and if you don't know, my favorite series of all time is the original Wizard of Oz series. I own all of them with like hardcover, first edition version hardcover. They're not literally first edition, but they have that cover, and I love them so much. So every time I say like, oh, this is like my favorite book, I'm always excluding that because nothing could top these to me. And I realized that I haven't read this particular one for a while, and I've read the other ones a lot more than this one, and so I picked up Glinda of Oz by L. Frank Baum, and of course it was amazing. It was as good as I remember it to be. These books are just so epic. Like the pictures in them are like, it's an experience to read these. Like, so that's why I have like paperback versions that I originally got, and they're not as good. It's an experience to read these. You have to get the versions with like the different pictures in them. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, of course. Okay, so the 4th book I read, how many is 4? The 4th book I read this month was one I've been waiting to read for a while because I haven't read anything by this particular author, and I've been meaning to, and that is The Chaos of Stars by Kiersten White. And this is just a cute book. Like, I loved all the mythology that was involved in it, and I loved the characters. It was funny. Like I found myself generally like giggling to myself. It was pretty predictable, but as far as books go, that really doesn't bother me too much. Like that doesn't ruin the story. And I think the love interest had like a little twist on it that I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of different. But for the most part, it's just kind of like one of those fun reads, and what you want to happen kind of happens and stuff like that. So yeah, I would give this book 4 out of 4 stars. Okay, so the 5th book that I only partially got through is one I've been meaning to pick up for so long, and it's an adult fantasy novel. I'm sure you've heard of it, and it's The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So far, I'm really into this book. It's like really cool, plus the cover. Sorry, a lot of these are like library books because I'm in college and I don't have money for books, but I did get a $20 gift card to Barnes & Noble for Christmas, so I'm excited to spend that. But this book is actually really good, and I feel like it's gonna be very slow burning. I mean, I'm about halfway through, but there are so, like, especially in the beginning, there are so many different characters and like partial little fragments of different stories in them, and so you gotta make sure you keep track of them, and I feel like they all kind of like come together in the end, but it is a little bit slow burning. Not slow, but you know, slow burning. So I'm hoping that I can finish this in the month of January. I'm still reading it, so it is going to be the first month. The first month I finish? Obviously. But it's going to be the first book I finish of the first month I finish. Words are hard, Jessica. Yeah, so far I'm really liking this book, and I hope that I can finish it. So I don't really care too much for TBRs because I kind of like to read what I want when I want, because I feel like planning it too much takes some of the fun out of it for me. So other than The Night Circus, the only other book I'm really wanting to finish is this book because it just sounded good, and it's The Girl in the Garden by Kamala Nair? ? I don't know. Whoa, you can try it. I'm probably butchering all the names. I'm so bad with names, but I guess it's supposed to be about a girl that goes back to India, which is like her, I don't know, homeland. It's not really the correct term. She was born there, I believe. But yeah, and she has to kind of confront her past, and I guess she meets some family members, and there's a garden somewhere in there. I don't know. But it just sounded kind of good, and I haven't really read January, I didn't read any kind of more realistic books. They all had fantasy elements, so yeah, I'm pretty excited to pick this one up. Yeah, that was my December wrap-up. Super late, but I'm hoping to get more books in January read, because the first 2 weeks of December I was doing final stuff, so I didn't have too much time to read, and then obviously like the last little while I had my friend over, and since she lives in Mississippi and I live in Michigan, I don't get to see her too much, so I wasn't really reading, and that time I was kind of just hanging out with her. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Thumbs up, subscribe, it's free, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!